This past Friday night on SmackDown, we had the WWE debut of Tama Tonga. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm familiar with the guy. I know he was in New Japan for years, and that's about it. But he's in the WWE, the son of Haku, which is basically more Bloodline members. This family is huge. But it has sparked some great interest on what was a great episode of SmackDown this past Friday on what the future holds for the Bloodline. And, last summer we had a bit of a Bloodline Civil War, right, between the Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sakoa. Well, 2024 could consist of a new Bloodline Civil War with The Rock and company versus Roman Reigns and company. Roman loses the title at WrestleMania. The Rock the next night is already throwing down the gauntlet. He wants Cody Rhodes. And we're going to talk more about him versus Cody a little bit more in depth in different places in a different video coming up as well. But this is one thing we talked about prior to WrestleMania, that The Rock wanting to be the guy to bring back, if you will, the WWE Championship to the Bloodline could be something that causes some headbutting, if you will, between Rock and Roman. I mean, we already saw a little bit of miscommunication on Saturday night at WrestleMania when Roman speared The Rock. Nothing that was a huge detriment, but I do think could have been the smallest seed planted for that future feud. But then we get to SmackDown, and Solo Sakoa really asserts his dominance, right? We have Solo, Jimmy, and Paul Heyman out there, and Solo Sakoa looks at Paul Heyman, and at first you think he's alluding to Roman Reigns, which technically he probably also was, but Solo Sakoa is talking about how there should be consequences for losing in the Bloodline. And again, you kind of think, oh my god, he's talking about Roman Reigns, and technically probably was as well, but Roman wasn't there in the moment. He turns to Jey Uso, who also lost at WrestleMania, lost to Jey on Saturday night. And then you guys know what happened from there. Solo Sakoa with the hug, telling Jimmy, I love you, my brother, all this stuff. Then Tama Tonga, I'm pretty sure I'm saying the name right, I don't know. Dude comes from behind, son of Haku, attacks Jey Uso, and then Solo Sakoa proceeds to beat the hell out of Jimmy. So what did we see on SmackDown? Did we see Jey Uso getting executed from the Bloodline? Because clearly Paul Heyman knew nothing about this, and Solo Sakoa and Tama Tonga were kind of talking about how this was per orders of the tribal chief. But were they even really talking about Roman Reigns? Two people who could be the tribal chief that Tama was, referring to when he said those were, his actions were per order of the tribal chief to Paul Heyman a little bit later in the episode. One, he was talking about Solo Sakoa. Remember, Solo all this time has kind of been dubbed as the heir to the throne, the heir to being the tribal chief when Roman Reigns falls. So now that Roman Reigns is no longer the champion, Solo could be presuming like, all right, you lost, I'm next up, it's my time now. And Solo in his mind, and maybe whoever's going to join him mind, is now the tribal chief. Or he wasn't talking about Solo Sakoa, and he was actually talking about the final boss, The Rock. Clearly, we are heading towards a Bloodline split down the middle, and I'm here for it. I don't know when Roman Reigns is going to be back. Probably close to SummerSlam, maybe, earlier. The sooner the better, honestly, we get Roman Reigns back on television. But we're going to find out that what is probably has already happened on SmackDown this past Friday, and probably what is going to continue to happen with Solo and company, maybe trying to take over the Bloodline and make it into their own vision, really has nothing to do with Roman. And Roman's going to be like, what are you guys doing? And I'm very interested to see come Monday what Jey Uso's reaction to this is. The #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, and I would not be surprised if we get a simple backstage segment on Raw where Jey's getting interviewed, by Kathy Kelly or whoever else, or Jackie Redmond, and they're like, what are your thoughts on what happened on SmackDown with Jimmy? And Jey clearly is bothered by it, because Jey has never had a problem really fighting his brother. It's not like Jeff and Matt back in the day where for a while Jeff didn't want to fight Matt. Jey has been willing to fight Jey Uso this whole time, but that doesn't mean like he's completely cut off his brother. If you're literally looking at this in a storyline sense, Jey is probably more of an open arms and wants Jimmy to come, back home and back to the brotherhood of the Usos more than anything. So when that gets brung up to Jey, because the promo's gonna happen, the interview's gonna happen, Jey's probably not gonna be very comfortable with it. And I don't expect anything to happen immediately, but I could very much see when we get to Backlash, if that's when the Jey versus Priest match happens, which I assume is where it will be, I could easily see Solo Sakoa, maybe even Jacob Fatu, who, has been on the independents. I don't know if he's also worked New Japan. I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar, but evidently has also been signed to the WWE. Some of these new Bloodline members ending up interfering in that match and costing Jey the championship. And that's only less than 3 weeks from the time this video is going up, so we can continue to see stuff like we saw on SmackDown with Solo Sikoa kind of wreaking havoc. And when asked of why he possibly cost Jimmy the world championship, Solo's reasoning, order of the tribal chief, or that's what Tama Tonga can say, or whatever else. But you get the gist of the whole thing. Solo Sikoa / The Rock, I want to say, starting their own branch of the Bloodline, splitting off Jey and Jimmy, and now I think Roman for being failures at WrestleMania, and Jey was already gone, but you get the point. And it all makes a lot of sense, because one thing we have talked about here on the channel as well is I do think Rock pinning Cody at WrestleMania and Roman losing on Sunday was just the first step into getting Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 41. Now, I know there has been rumors of Rock versus Cody at WrestleMania 41, but I'm going to be honest, I really don't see them waiting that long. I mean, I'm not saying there's not other matches for Roman at WrestleMania. You could run Roman and Seth next year. You could run Roman and Punk next year. So if they go Rock and Cody, because I could very much see Cody holding the WWE Championship until WrestleMania 41 and beyond, maybe losing it a little bit earlier depending on his opponent at WrestleMania, but like Cody's going to have a long reign, so I could easily see Cody and Rock at WrestleMania, but Roman versus Rock also on the table. And obviously we have a long time until we get there. We just finished WrestleMania 40, but already after last night's SmackDown, people are already rumoring the Survivor Series War Games match for this year, which already is making a hell of a lot of sense. We may be living in a world come November where it is truly Bloodline Civil War inside of War Games, with one side being The Rock, which already is crazy because The Rock possibly being in a War Games matchup, although sounds a little bit fantasy, is also a very legitimate chance of happening. Just because The Rock and Cody match has been rumored for 41, there's also been rumors that The Rock is going to wrestle again in 2024, especially if they go Rock versus Cody, which in my personal opinion, I think is going to happen sooner than later. I do believe The Rock will be back and maybe even wrestle at SummerSlam. That is something people have been rumoring as well as myself for a while. I see Cody and Rock in the summer, and Cody just going against The Rock and Rock failing to win the WWE Championship is going to be even more tension between The Rock and Roman, really leading to that eventual split. And then going back to my prior statement, we could be living in a world come November at Survivor Series inside War Games, where's The Rock, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, however you say his name. I feel like I'm saying it wrong, but I also think I'm saying it right. And then Jacob Fatu, who is yet to even debut, but everybody's saying it's signed, so I'm just rolling with it, against Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, who all come back together, the original trio, the original Bloodline, and then who's going to be the fourth member? Well, a lot of people throwing out the honorary use, Sami Zayn, which if any outsider of the actual Bloodline family is going to be involved, I mean, yes, he is a shoo-in, but maybe there's somebody else, depending on how the storyline goes, who can be in that fourth spot, but obviously Sami makes a ton of sense, and that is just an insane possibility. Like, we are not even, at the time of filming this video, we are legitimately 1 week from WrestleMania Saturday removed, and we are already talking about the next year of storylines for The Rock and Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and Solo Sikoa already taking this next step and probably dubbing himself the tribal chief in the near future is just freaking great to see, man. Solo Sikoa has been, riding the coattails of Roman for a while, missed 2 WrestleMania. I don't even want to say missed WrestleMania because he's never even wrestled on one, and he filled his role. He did what he needed to do, but it's time for Solo to branch off, and Solo versus Roman is a feud that I think a lot of people want to see, a match that is very intriguing, and a match that I think has been brewing on and off for a while. There's been many teases here and there, not too much, but just when needed, of Solo wanting Roman's spot. I forget what the thing that Roman wears around his neck is called, but there's literally been times where Solo's been staring right at it, and then Solo, knowing that he is the heir to the tribal chief. Well, Roman fell. The tribal chief fell, lost his throne at WrestleMania. In Solo's mind, he believes it's time to step up. Solo getting this level up on SmackDown is going to be great. Solo versus Roman could be phenomenal. And the possible Bloodline Civil War that could take over in 2024 and lead us into WrestleMania 41 could be phenomenal. We could see Solo Sikoa going after a singles championship at Mania 41. We could see the Usos versus Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. We could see Rock versus Roman. There is so much potential with just that group of talent alone, and I can't wait to see how it plays out when The Rock comes back, when Roman comes back, and just with this other group of guys like Solo and company that are going to be probably riding this, storyline and carrying it on their back for a while until those guys come back. And in my opinion, the most intriguing part about this whole thing is that obviously Roman and Jey and Jimmy and the fourth guy eventually, Sami Zayn, whoever it's going to be, are the baby faces in this situation. And Roman being basically the same guy, nothing needs to change that much. He just needs to be Roman Reigns, but being a good guy is kind of going to be cool to see, because it's what WWE always originally wanted, not the current regime, but always originally wanted is Roman as the top guy, top babyface. Then he went heel, he finally got there, and now coming back as this babyface with the Usos and being this super over, it's going to be so cool to see, man. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments of the possible Bloodline Civil War that could be taken over SmackDown in 2024, how it could play in the Survivor Series in November, and how it could play into WrestleMania 41. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.